Hey, this is Corey from Wolfpack Woodcraft, and today we are looking at a preparedness book. So this isn't camping or wilderness. This is a disaster preparedness book. It's called Just in Case, How to Be Self-Sufficient When the Unexpected Happens. And now this looks like a kid's book. It looks like something that you would read to your kids, and it definitely can be that. It definitely is a very simple, easy to read. There's lots of really clear pictures. It can be used as a kid's book. It's kind of long and the topics are kind of boring for kids. I've learned reading this to my kid. He doesn't get into it, but I found it very fascinating and very interesting. And the thing that I like about this book that a lot of other books don't do is it's not so much like a doom and gloom book. You know what I mean? It's not so much like if this happens, we're all screwed, you know? It's if this happens, well, we're going to have to consider these things to keep us comfortable. And again, this channel is about staying comfortable, and this book is about staying comfortable. And there's a lot of little things in here that I never really thought of. And so I've read this one a couple times just because it's so nice. Even the cooking stoves. They talk about using cooking stoves as heaters instead of using them as cooking stoves. You can just use them as a heater, and that's something that I've talked about on the channel. And there are other things in here that I had never thought of until I read them in this book, and so I like it a lot, if you couldn't tell already. So time spent. Was it worth the time spent reading? Yes. It's a very easy book to read. It's easy to get into. It's easy to pick up. It has all the little blurbs. And so, again, you can just read a little blurb, put it down, go somewhere else. It's one of my favorite things books does. Time spent, easy to read, very easy to read. What I learned is what I learned worth the time spent. There is a lot of information in this book. And again, they touch on a lot of different things. They touch on, one of the things I'll tell you, is they talk about pandemic. So this book was written in, I think, 2008. Where is it? Yeah, 2008. And so this is before the world collapsed from the Rona. And it's funny listening to them talk about the pandemic from that long ago, because what they talk about and what actually happened are nothing alike. but it's still pretty cool. I learned a lot from this book, by the way. There's a lot of really good information in here. A lot of things that I never heard of before or thought of before, which made it really interesting. Happy to add to the collection. I really enjoy having this book. Like I said, I've read it a couple of times. I might even read it again because I'm having a hard time remembering stuff to share in this video. So it might be a good time for me to get another refresher on it. Aesthetics, Nature, and Appreciation for Beauty. This is a great book. It talks about a lot of different things, and the pictures and everything, makes it look like a kid's book, but it does make it easier to understand. It does make it, when you see something and you read about it, you know, like making a solar oven. The pictures, they give you the information like, oh, I could do that, or oh, I understand how this is supposed to work now. You know what I mean? And so the pictures are important, and they add to the understanding. This is one that I learned. So when your pipes freeze, a lot of people know that when your pipes freeze, you can take a hair dryer or a electric blanket or something. But with no power, okay, so usually when your pipes freeze, it's because there's a power outage. And so one of the things that I hadn't thought about is they wrap the pipe with a towel, and then they take a kettle and they use their propane stove to boil the water, and then they pour the boiling water on the rag over the pipe, right? And that's something that I never really thought about. And so that's, even if you don't bring it to a boil, you just heat it up and pour the hot water onto the pipes. It will heat them up enough so that they can thaw out and everything can flush, and so that they won't refreeze and expand and burst. And it's all these little things that I had never heard of before that really make this book special. So because of that, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I enjoy having it. It's my favorite disaster preparedness book. The reason that it is not a 10 is because there's a lot of, like when they talk about the pandemic, it's literally like a one-page thing about the pandemic. They don't really go into detail. And so it's not a well-rounded system. Okay, they do talk about like terrorist attacks and they talk about all these different things, but they just kind of mention it. And so that you can tell that the things that they're experienced with and the things they have a lot of knowledge on, they go really in depth, deep on those subjects and topics, which I really, really enjoy. It's my favorite in those topics. But there are other topics that they just go like, in a pandemic, you're going to need to seal yourself off and wear a respirator mask because a surgical mask isn't going to be sufficient. And then they move on to the next chapter. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't dive in deep into everything, but the things that they are knowledgeable about, they are very knowledgeable about. And there is a lot of really good information in here. And that is why it didn't get a 10, but a 9 is still my favorite. This is one of my very favorite books. I'm going to keep it forever. And because of that, I want to know what your favorite disaster preparedness book is in that comment section. When it comes to being prepared and being ready for natural disasters or whatever, what book do you reference? Leave that in the comment section down below, and I can't wait to see you on my next video.